It's feast or famine for the Yankees. We gave you that stat earlier. They were 0-8 when they scored 2 runs or fewer, and the tie for the worst win percentage in Major League Baseball at 0. Then when they score 3 runs or more, they're 19-3. And it's weird because they've been shut out now 5 times. And the only team that's been shut out more is the White Sox, 8 times. So it's been, again, feast or famine, 17 games with 5 or more runs. That's tied for the second most in baseball. And they have 7 games with 0 or 1 run and tied for the 5th worst. So this is a lineup that has fits and starts. And yesterday, they were shut down. Yesterday, they were shut down by a good Orioles starter and also a bullpen that has really struggled. 18th worst ERA in baseball, and the Yankees couldn't touch him. Now, the Yankee lineup is compromised because Verdugo is not with the team. He's watching his second child be born, so he's on paternity leave. And that means you're putting Trent Grisham in center field. Trent Grisham's really not a hitter. Now, he's done more damage when he was with the Padres, but here, with truncated playing time, all of a sudden the bottom of the lineup is not that fierce. Oswaldo Cabrera's batting 8th. The last 8 games, he's 5 for 31. That's 161. Trent Grisham has 1 home run and a bunt single. Austin Wells has hit into some bad luck. Gleyber Torres hitting better lately, but no home runs. So it's not a fearsome lineup at times, especially when you take Verdugo out. Verdugo was actually the cleanup hitter for the 2 games where they scored 15 runs in Milwaukee. But, Don, it is what it is. This is not a fierce lineup. The top of the lineup has to do the most damage, and the guy who's leading off, Anthony Volpe, is not getting on base as much as he did in the first 2 weeks of the season.
And the weather is warming up, but still, they scored 30 runs in 2 games against Milwaukee. But, listen, Baltimore's a really good team. And you said it's not the same old ballpark. This is not the same old team. So going to Camden Yards was always like a panacea. That's not going to happen again. But, 5 times? What was it? How many times were they shut out last year?
I think it's 7 the whole year.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. That a little bit different. But I think there's extenuating circumstances. Verdugo's been good. So, he's going to be missed out of the lineup. You're going to get better from Judge. Volpe is, I don't know, when you say Volpe is, well, I don't know what he is. I mean, he's still very young in his career, but, last year he showed you that he can hit.
Well, last year he hit 209.
But, I mean, overall,
he hit home runs.
He didn't hit for average, but, he still was, decent on base percentage, hit home runs. I think the Yankees' offense will be fine, but the question is, what's going to happen in the postseason? That's where it is. I mean, last year was last year. They had extenuating circumstances why they weren't good offensively. This team should be built to hit. And they should pitch pretty well until Cole comes back, which looks like it's going to be sooner than later. So.
I'll tell you what, Schmidt was great yesterday.
Yeah.
5 2/3 innings. He gave up a home run to the first batter, Gunnar Henderson, and after that, that's the longest outing of the year for him. And he can 31 straight games where he's allowed 3 runs or fewer in every single game. They always have a chance to win. They gave up an unearned run in the bottom of the 8th inning when Volpe booted what would have been the 3rd out. So they end up losing 2-0. But they have 3 more games starting tonight, then tomorrow night, and then Thursday afternoon. And Nestor Cortez against Dean Kramer tonight. That's the Pinstripe Report, brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, never ordinary at Bet365. We've got to talk a little Mets, Don. Severino pitched brilliantly yesterday.
Very well.
Brilliantly. Looked like he was going to be the second Met pitcher to pitch a no-hitter and the third Met no-hitter, because one was, I think, 4 guys who did it a couple of years ago, and then Yohan Santana. But it didn't work out, and they went from winning 1-0, having a no-hitter through 7, to end up losing the game 3-1 to the Cubs. But Severino, I've always said it, when healthy, is a really, really fine pitcher, and so far he's been healthy, and it's a great pickup for the Mets. It really is a great pickup if he stays healthy.
No, I think it was worth a shot, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because we know what he is capable of doing. Now, whether he does it or not is another story. But much like the Yankees last night, they got the pitching, just couldn't get the hitting, and gave up a couple of runs in the 9th that really did them in. And you probably felt pretty good. Mark Leiter Jr. gets the win. So the Leiter family having something to celebrate, I guess.
There you go.
But that was disappointing, because it looked like it was going to be a really special night and end up losing the game. That stinks.
Now, they also make a move. Vientos came up and hit that game-winning home run, but he got sent down when Marte came off the bereavement list. And what Vientos has to do, Don, He has to go down to AAA and show he can play third base. And if he can play third base, he might get a shot because Beatty is starting to cool off.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when a young guy cools off, they don't give him as much leash as like when Aaron Judge is not hitting well, because there's equity there. So if Beatty starts to cool down and Vientos shows that he could pick it at third base, then he might get the call up and they send Beatty down, because it's a situation where the Mets are looking to the future. Who's going to be the guy for the future for them? Is it Beatty? Is it Vientos? Vientos has never shown that he's a good defender, but he did get sent down after hitting that big home run, and that's just a roster maneuverability because he's hit down there, Don. But can he play third base? That's going to be his ticket to the big leagues.
And that's the door, because after the hot start, Beatty's now 4 for his last 26. He's still batting .277, but that was after an incredibly hot start. So that's probably the best avenue for him. And I think Vientos has a future here, Michael. He's got a little pop. Had the walk-off the other night, but he was not really given that much of a chance this year. I thought that if they didn't sign Martinez, that he was going to get the shot to be on the big club, but they sent him down before they even signed Martinez. Yeah, so it didn't seem like they were really happy with him. So he's kind of landlocked now unless he can take the third base job away from Beatty. Now, we'll see. It's only been 15 games with just 4 hits for Beatty, but it hasn't been the start that I think they were hoping for overall in his career. It was hot to begin the season, and we'll see if that ends up being his avenue back to the big leagues. But I agree with you. That's probably it.
Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Steve in Secaucus. Steve.
Hey, how you doing, guys? Thanks for taking me on.
You got it.
What's up?
I got a question. Okay, you got a football field that's 100 yards long, a basketball court that's 94, 10-foot high baskets. Why are baseball fields different lengths? Why? Because home runs, to me, mean nothing. If I'm hitting a home run at 280 feet, and player B is hitting home runs at 320 feet. This guy's got 10 home runs. The other guy's got 50. What sense does that make?
Well, I mean, every team is going to play 81 home games and 81 games on the road. So the dimensions are the same for the two teams that are playing that day. The reason that baseball fields are different size, and I think it's charming, I think it's a nice part of the sport, is because when they built stadiums in the old days, they had to fit it into a city block. Mm-hmm. And so, sometimes it was short and left field. At Fenway, it was short. Fenway was short and left. Yankee Stadium, one of the reasons they made it short and right was for Babe Ruth, the house that Ruth built. But a lot of the ballparks were fit into city blocks, and that's why they couldn't have the same dimensions. And if you ask me, I was commissioner for a day, I would not make it the same dimensions, Don.
Well, they felt because the one thing they could do is keep the infield the same.
Right.
So that becomes their basketball court, that becomes their hockey rink, that becomes their football field. And for all the reasons you said, the outfield was different. Now, it doesn't have to be that way anymore, but how are you going to make Fenway change? They can't. They're stuck. So if you can't change Fenway, you can't change Wrigley, then why would you change anybody? And as you said, it's kind of become the charm of it. But that's the reason. But unless you made Fenway Park move to the suburbs, Michael, how can they have the same dimensions as Comerica Park or whatever they call it now? Because there's a building there. they can't. What, are they going to blow up a building? Same thing with Wrigley Field. You're in the neighborhood. So,
now, Don, the hockey rinks used to be different sizes, right?
Well, the only two that were different was Chicago Stadium and Boston Garden. Mm-hmm. And because, again, the same thing. They just, the way they made
they were basketball arenas first.
Yeah, the neutral zone was smaller. So both ends were the same as far as the team's offensive zones, but the neutral zone was a little bit smaller. But once they opened up the new buildings in Chicago and Boston, they all went back to the regular dimensions. But it was the same kind of thing. Like there was only so much room you could do. These were inner city buildings. So you did the best that you could at that particular time, but you don't want to. There was a different way to play at the Boston Garden, by the way they built their team because of the smaller neutral zone. But that's the new building's been open for 25 years now, so that's over. But I like the charm of baseball being a little bit different.
So do I.
You'd have something to complain about if it wasn't all 60 feet 6 inches, or 90 feet with the bases. That would be compromised, but. I think it's I think it's charming.
Now, a lot of people could say, okay, the right field at Yankee Stadium yields too many cheap home runs, but it also yields it for the other team. And it hurts Yankee pitchers. So, you get some and you give some. That's the way it works. It's not like they moved the fences back when Garrett Cole's on the mound.
Well, I remember you complaining about, and I guess you had a point, about when they originally opened Citi Field because it was just monstrous. Mm-hmm. And you said it was unfair. And I understood your point, but I thought the phrasing was wrong. It's not unfair. It's fair. Both teams play under the same conditions.
Yeah, but it was unfair to their best player.
It's unfair to David Wright, who saw his home runs get cut down from Shea Stadium to Citi Field, but it played fair for both teams, but it was unfair to home run hitters. But it was the Mets were always built around pitching, but that was obnoxious how big that building was. And then they brought him in. They brought him in Detroit, too. That was also unfair.
Oh, it was ridiculous how deep it was.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Especially, you want runs to be scored. For the good of the sport, you want offense. Now, Detroit was cavernous. It actually made Citi Field look cozy. But now they've moved in the left field wall, and they have the great wall of, the great wall of, what does Howie call it? Shea?
The great
Queens?
Wall of Flushing.
And that's not the home run wall anymore.
Yeah, but you want to know a joke, Michael, and it's a great moment in New York sports history. But, the Polo Grounds, that was a joke. The Robbie Thompson home run was a joke. Now, don't take it away from him. The Dodgers had the same thing that they could have taken advantage of, but that wouldn't play today, Michael.
And the great catch that will go down forever, Willie Mays on Vic Wertz, it should have been out by 20 feet. He would never been able to catch the ball. But it was it was at 480 feet to center field at the Polo Grounds.
They literally, it was that's why they called it the Polo Grounds. It was a polo field, but basically it was a football field you played on. So, Michael, left field was a joke.
Yeah.
What was it actually? What was it, 255? Something ridiculous.
Well, the L.A. Coliseum was ridiculous, too, before the Dodgers built Dodger Stadium. There's a history of it in the game. It just, it happens. Let's go to Elvis in Connecticut. Elvis.
Hey, Michael.
Hello.
Hey, Michael, Don, Peter. I know Peter's not there, but guys. Born and raised in the Bronx, big Yankee fan, big fan of your guys. Talk about dream team. Your guys are the dream team.
Aww.
For real, my first time that I could get through your guys, and I'm excited. And I was going to talk about a lot of things about baseball, but I'm just excited to be with your guys. One thing I got to say, Michael, what you think about, they said Soto, when he first got to the Yankees, they know when to call, who to call, if that has a progress. And what you think about Judge, because I still believe he's still injured because of the oblique where he suffered in spring training, but he's going to hit. The only thing that I'm concerned about is Torres. And for real, guys, I'm a big fan of your guys. You ever be in Connecticut, stop by the Sloppy Waffle. You got free waffles.
That sounds fun, Sloppy Waffle.
I'm a big waffle guy.
Listen, are you a big waffle guy or not?
Yes.
You are. I'm not.
Waffle guy.
The kids are.
What's the matter with a waffle? It holds
nothing. I'd rather have a pancake.
Well, pancakes are delightful as well, but the waffle is...
You give me a choice, I'm taking a pancake. I don't like the ridges.
But the ridges are what makes it work. It holds the syrup.
I don't like syrup. I don't like to put syrup on it.
Wait a minute.
I put butter on it.
I like both, but you don't like syrup?
No, no. It's not that I don't like the taste of syrup. I do. I don't like it. I just don't put it on my pancake. I put butter on.
Oh, my dear God.
Melted butter.
Well, do you know what you're missing?
No, I know what I'm missing. Probably about 500 calories.
Oh, we'll see. That's a different argument.
We didn't even answer Elvis's questions. Listen.
I'm good.
Aaron Judge says he's healthy. Okay, that's it. He's healthy. Unless he says he's hurt, well, what can we do? We can't force it out of him. Says he's healthy.
You give him an exam every day? I think something's going on there. If you're a fan, you hope. But he didn't all of a sudden lose it. Something's going on.
Well, he got it back for Saturday and Sunday in Milwaukee. We'll see. Gleyber Torres, I think he's putting pressure on himself. He's a free agent, wants to stay with the Yankees. And now that he doesn't have a home run, it's been 51 games, by the way. That's a third of the season, essentially.
That's a lot.
51 games dating back to last year. Last home run he hit was off of Eduardo Rodriguez of the Tigers. I think it was September 7th or 9th. And as for Soto, Brian Cashman said there's been no contact with Scott Boras about that. Boras is not going to do a contract for Soto right now. It'd be crazy. It would be crazy. Let's go to Rich in Cocoa Beach, which sounds delicious.
It does.
Yeah, hey guys. Thanks for putting me on. I just want to talk about the Met in the Wild situation.
All right, who do you have?
Sandy Koufax.
Ooh, really? Where'd you meet him?
On a flight from Newark from Orlando to Newark. I sat with him actually for 2 hours.
Was he nice?
Oh, it was awesome. Let me just tell you the whole circumstance quick.
Okay.
I see him coming down the aisle, and even though it's Snow White hair, I said, "Oh my God, it's Sandy Koufax." He stops right by my seat, around 25, we'll say, and I said, "Sandy Koufax." He says, "Yes." I shook his hands like I was super excited. I said, "What a thrill!" He says, "Thank you." He sat across from me between two rather robust women, and I could see he was cramped. I sat on the aisle seat. Next to me, the window was open. I said, "Sandy, maybe you'd like to sit over here." He says, "Great." He went over there, and we sat there, and I can't say we talked for 2 hours, but we did talk baseball, but we talked about a whole bunch of other things. He was terrific.
He doesn't do a lot. Like, he's kind of a white whale, isn't he, Michael? Like, he doesn't do very much.
He shows up for Dodger stuff.
Yeah, and I know
but
he did that.
I will tell you what, Don, because I've been so lucky in this business to meet everybody. If I met him, I'd be tongue-tied.
But that just shows you something. You've been around baseball for a long time, never met him. He doesn't do a lot of interviews. I know he did that cameo in Entourage.
Right.
But you don't see him much at all. So that's a really good one. Peter probably wouldn't have appreciated it, but
probably wouldn't know who he is.
Oh, that's strong.
Now,
I watched Entourage, you saw.
That's true. One thing I asked Outlighter. One favor. Because, I don't collect autographs because I don't want to put myself in that position of getting turned down.
Right.
And I don't think it's right for somebody in my position to do it. There are exceptions. But I pleaded with Al to please get me a Sandy Koufax ball. Because Al and Sandy are really close.
Okay.
Because Sandy and Fred Wilpon are really close. Al never came through. Never came through. Ever.
Did he tell you he would?
He said, yeah, I'll do it. Never got.
Al's a man of his word, though. Maybe just never got a chance to
really?
A
lot of people had a sighting in the wild yesterday, Don, because Bill Murray took the 7 train last night after the Mets-Cubs game.
How about that?
So everybody that was on that train, they had a great situation in the wild. Let's go to Doug in Staten Island. Dougie.
Mike, my man.
What's up?
So listen, back in 2002, you're going to remember this. Me and my boys went out for lunch. I'm smoking a cigarette right after lunch in front of 650 Fifth Avenue, and we were talking about you moving from the radio booth to the TV booth. And who walks out of the building but you? Remember that?
This was 2 years ago?
No, in 2002.
Okay. Vaguely.
And I turn around, and it's like you appeared literally 10 minutes after we were speaking about
I think I do remember
this. Speak of the devil. And I go, speak of the devil. And you go, oh, what were you talking about? Anything good? And I told you, how we were speaking about the move, and you go, so what do you guys think? And we gave you a good review. You were all right. But you were the nicest guy, and you were so genuine. Like, we were actually trying to get in touch with your mother to tell her what a gentleman you were. True story.
Well, that was not. I mean, you would have had to pray because she wasn't alive in 2002. But
no.
Well, wait a minute. She was.
She
I'm
was.
sorry. Yes, she was. I'm losing my mind. Yeah, because you know why I remember this? Because if you remember the first year of Yes, Don, it was not on Cablevision.
Right.
And my mom lived she lived in Scarsdale at the time, and the carrier was Cablevision. And she was not able to watch me. And did she rip me? You made a stupid mistake.
Oh.
You were on the radio all the time. You're not even on TV anymore. Mom, I am on TV. You're not on my TV. I can't believe you did this. You had a good job. You should have stayed there.
See, she was thinking, what kind of joke of a place did you join?
Right.
I can't watch it on television, because that's how my mom would be. Like, what an awful decision you made. What kind of ragamuffin organization did you join? Fly-by-night organization that they're not on my TV. Because you can't explain to them the whole, the contracts and all that. All she knows is she had you on every game on the radio. And now you're gone.
And not only did she have me on every game, but she would see me post-game on MSG. So she could see me on TV, and all of a sudden I was gone for a year.
And I'm saying this to support you, Michael. I'm not ripping my mom. But, like, if the Yankees had an afternoon game, I'll get a call. Why aren't you on? It's like, the Yes Network doesn't exist for the Michael K. show. It exists for the Yankee games. But that's just how Mom thinks, right? Like, what's going on? Why aren't you on?
Oh, she was red hot. My mom was just so upset. And every day we spoke. Smart move taking that Yes job. Now what's going to happen when it goes out of business? What's going to happen then?
Right.
I don't know, Mom. I don't know what's going to happen. Stupid. How could you have done that? I was in pain back then, Don, and if I'm in pain, what should I do?
Well,